Welcome to another episode of the Miami Real Estate Show. Today, I have the pleasure to interview the president of Related ISG International Realty, Alex Vidal. About a year ago, we sat down to interview him for the Miami Real Estate Show, and at the time, he had 55 agents in the company. Today, a year later, he has grown the company from 55 agents to over 300 agents, including many top producers. He shares in the interview today the thing he has learned from his mentors and also from other top producers in his company, the characteristics that make agents and that makes other mentors he had so productive and successful. For example, the ability to remain focused in one single unique ability. He sees many agents in different companies, including his, that are very distracted by many different things and they're trying to do many things at the same time. And he says his success and the success of his agents and his mentors has remained always on the ability to remain focused. Also, the ability to eliminate all the negative noise around them, especially in the real estate market that sometimes is up and sometimes is down. But at the same time, remain open and listening to what your client wants. Instead of you telling how you can help your client, make sure that you understand the real why behind the client buying or selling a property and letting the client explain to you how you can help him. Very, very important. And a key final note that I learned from the many insights he shares in the interview, it's the importance of daily preparation. So I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. And without further ado, I leave you with Alex Vidal, president of Related ISG International Realty. Make it a very, very productive day. Take care, guys.
This episode of the Miami Real Estate Show is brought to you by Perlin Title and Escrow Services Corp., an integrated solution for all your real estate closing needs. Supported by a skilled team of professionals in state-of-the-art technology, Perlin Title will satisfy your most demanding deadlines and meet your loftiest expectations. Perlin Title and Escrow Services, delivering above and beyond service with every commercial and residential real estate closing in Florida. This week's featured property is a residential project with a daring new vision for oceanfront luxury living. Perfectly positioned between the Atlantic Ocean and the Intracoastal, the residence at W Fort Lauderdale, boldly designed and precisely detailed, the W's 147 residences have been thoroughly reimagined by New York-based design duo Meyer Davis with the highest standards of comfort and refinement. Oversized terraces, walls of windows, and panoramic city-to-shore views give the residences at W Fort Lauderdale a distinctive flair. A soothing spa, upscale restaurants, and full-service concierge ensure W residents enjoy the ultimate benefits of luxury living. The residences at W Fort Lauderdale, an oceanfront destination of endless possibilities. For more information, call 305-932-6365.
Welcome to another episode of the Miami Real Estate Show. Today, I have the true honor and pleasure to interview Alex Vidal, president for Related ISG International Realty. Alex, again, we sit down together.
Yes.
Today is going to be a great interview. So thank you for having me in your beautiful offices.
Thank you for having me.
Here in Aventura. So to get started, like always,
Sure.
You've seen the show before,
Yes.
You've been in the show before. And the question is, tell me a little bit about your background. How long have you been in the business? How you got started in real estate and why the real estate?
Okay.
industry?
It's an interesting story. So I've been around a long time. I'm 37. I've been in real estate since I was 19.
Okay.
So 18 years in the business. And the reason I got into the business was I had a son, my son who's 18 now. I had him at 19 years old and I needed a job.
Okay.
And I literally had two choices. And one was going to sell advertising at the Miami Herald, which was a job that my mother got me.
Okay.
And the other one was I literally started farming my resume to everybody and their mother. Controller, president, didn't matter. They got
Very
my
good.
resume,
That's
right?
the idea, yeah.
And I was offered to be the secretary to the president, the assistant to the president of Kai's Real Estate, Mike Pappas, at 19. And I took it. And the only reason I took it was because it was a job that I got on my own, not something that somebody gave to me or essentially got for me. And that's the only reason. Yeah. And from there, I started off as the secretary, and then they're heavy on recruiting, and they were having issues at the time, so I started assisting them recruiting from a corporate level. I got promoted to their recruiting director. I got recruited to California to create the recruiting division for Prudential California Realty, like at 21.
Okay.
Came back, created the recruiting division for Prudential Florida WCI Realty back when it was Prudential Florida WCI Realty. Did sales, went to Colorado.
So you lived in Colorado also?
I did in Colorado. So after I was the recruiting director for Prudential Florida WCI Realty, they opened an office in Aventura near my home.
Okay.
And I became their sales coach. Having never done sales, theoretically, I went out and I became their sales coach. And then when the market took a downturn, I was actually recruited by Prudential to Colorado to create their recruiting division over there. And when the owner was able to come back to Florida, long story, we came back, we took over a brokerage, and ever since then I've been running companies. So.
And now you mentioned, because now Related ISG has 6 offices here in Miami.
Correct.
And under your wing,
yes,
the company has gone from 56, 57 agents.
Correct.
To right now almost 310 agents.
Correct. In a year and a half. Less than a year and a half.
Yeah. Perfect. So, as you said, you became a coach, sales coach for the company, but you didn't have a coach before. But my question to you, which is the second one that I have here in my notes, is did you have a mentor?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do.
Okay.
I've had and I do.
Very good.
So I would tell you throughout my career, the most fortunate thing that I've been given are mentors along the way.
Of course.
When I was at Kai's, it was Mike Pappas, who I see regularly at different events, and every time I see him, I thank him for giving this 19-year-old kid the opportunity to get into the business, right? And Mike is a super dynamic guy. Rich Cosner, who is the president / owner of Prudential California Realty, I speak to him on a regular basis. He's kind of also a continuing mentor of mine. And then here with Prudential is a guy named Roger Herman. And now at ISG,
you have a
related
coach
to ISG,
right?
I have Philip, I have Craig, I have Mike Ambrosio that not many people know about, but Mike is the president of ISG and is one of the coolest guys. It's hard to explain, but he's one of the coolest guys you've ever met.
Right.
And Mike's brother-in-law, who is kind of a mentor / consultant to ISG, who used to be one of the top guys at UPS, and JB Hunt has taken me under his wing as well.
Incredible. Yeah. Very good, very good.
And it's good. And I see one of the questions is, what have you learned from them? Well, what I've learned is the common denominator among all these guys is they love what they do. There's a passion there that is unmatched, right? The other thing is that they will tell you, stay the course. Along the way, there's many ups and downs. Markets will shift, people will leave you, people will join you. Things are always going to be changing, but you have to be able to stay the course and not listen to all the noise, particularly the negative noise that's around you.
That's a very good point. When we coach agents and when we do seminars, I particularly say that the number one factor, the number one skill we entrepreneurs and real estate agents in general need to have is the ability to stay focused in one thing. What happens is you see somebody else having success in something similar. For example, I'm in luxury right now, just an example, and I see somebody else having success in commercial. Now I want to go into commercial. I'm doing commercial for a few weeks, and I see somebody else doing and having great success doing foreclosures, and then I go into foreclosure. So the ability to stay focused in today's environment, it's critical. And not to go sideways, like you said,
100%.
to the success in real estate. And you see real estate agents making that
all the time. Or they try to be the jack of all trades, right?
Exactly.
I'm going to sell real estate, but I'm also going to do mortgages, and I'm also going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I'm also an interior designer, and it's hard to wear that many hats and be successful at all of them.
Exactly. Now, and that's what we call about, and when I talk about it, Dan Sullivan, one of my mentors also, he talks about the unique ability, right? And we all have unique abilities. It's very difficult to be an expert on everything. And if you see the work of every single top producer, every single top producer concentrates on a very, very specific niche. They don't know everything. Actually, they know very little about a lot of things, but they're experts in a very, very particular part of the market.
Oh, yeah.
So you took the company from about 50 agents a year and a half ago to over 310 agents today. And you have many, many top producers, very good experienced agents. So what are some of those, other than focus, traits that those agents have today in 2015 or almost 2016?
I know.
By the time we hear the interview, what traits do you see in them to make them successful in real estate?
Sure. Well, one is be prepared. So
Okay.
I prepared for this interview.
Good.
So I'm going to read off a little bit because I didn't want to forget a lot of things.
Okay.
I think the number one thing is that they listen to what their customers want.
Okay.
And it could be a buyer, it could be a seller, it could be us in a leadership position interviewing managers or interviewing agents or a broker that we're trying to acquire. Doesn't matter what it is. They really take the time to find out what their customer, whoever that customer is, what their why is, okay? And if they find out why they're doing what they're doing, why are they buying, why are they selling, why are they looking to move companies, then you're able to speak intelligently based on what you do, right? And what ends up happening is the smart ones, the really smart ones, find out what that person's why is, and then they create what's called an endowment effect and loss aversion, okay? So endowment effect is the ability to have someone take ownership of something before they actually own it. And what happens is once they do that, the principles of loss aversion kick in. Now, loss aversion, once you technically own something, it's 2 times more powerful than the power of gaining it.
Right.
Okay. So if an agent tells us, let's talk about marketing, and their hot button is marketing, and let's say their company provides no marketing support, and I let them know, well, hey, my division has 3 people. In addition to that, ISG's marketing division has 9. I have 12 marketing people at your disposal. And imagine being able to go on a listing interview and tell that seller, hey, you know that Project Muse or Echo Brick or whatever it is, the same marketing company that's responsible for doing the pieces for that division or for that project are going to do your pieces. All of a sudden, that person's created, you've created the endowment effect. They've taken ownership of that, being able to say that, right? So but more importantly, it's all based on they find out why that person is doing what they're doing, and then they pitch that.
And I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you, because
please.
those are two very important points. You know, an industry that does that all the time is the car industry.
Okay.
I remember about 12 years ago, I buy my cars always in the same place.
Sure.
And one of the first purchases that I did, they gave me the car for the weekend.
It's like a 30-day risk trial.
Yeah,
it's the principles behind a 30-day risk.
I mean, for the weekend, and I show the car to all my friends, right? Once they see you in the car, it's very difficult just to go back and say, listen, no, I don't want the car. I mean, it's a much better car than the one you had before, so just take it for the weekend.
Yep.
And they're always calling me, listen, Orlando, I have this new car, I want you to take it. My wife and I love cars, so we like to have a nice car. So we drive the car, and then by Monday, it's just very difficult to say, no, just take it back.
And that's actually the principles behind 30-day free trials or money-back guarantees.
Exactly.
But it's all of that only works.
Very good.
It only works if you take the time. See, I think a lot of agents, for the most part, have problems or have an issue with asking people.
You got it. That's the one that I was going to tell you about listening.
Yes.
It's not only, and I'm sorry again.
No, please.
Because you said you need to listen to your client, but by listening, you go deeper into the question. There are 5 qualifying questions. There are many, but there are 5 that: what do you want, where you want it, when, why, and how much.
Okay.
The regular answer for the international client, and you have so many good, you have Echo Brickle, you have Muse, you have so many good projects. But if I ask the typical international client, Alex, what do you want? Good opportunity. Where do you want it? Nice place.
Anywhere.
Why? I want a higher return on my investment. Whenever you bring me that opportunity. How much are you willing to invest? $150,000. The answer is always the same. But I need to listen. I need to inquire, go deeper, so I can truly get the real answer. Listening to your clients, like you said.
And too many agents rush to try to sell them right away without taking the time. A typical recruiting interview of mine will last an hour.
Okay. Wow.
It will take 40 minutes of it, I would venture to say. 35, 40 minutes of it is just me asking the agent how they do business, how long they've been in the business, what. I find out everything about their life within that 40 minutes. And by doing that, it's then you hear, oh my God, nobody even asked me that question. A lot of them just sit down and let me tell you what I can do for you. And they never find out what really interests that agent to begin with. So I think listening is a big one for sure.
Okay, perfect.
You got to be genuine, because if people can smell that out, right?
Immediately.
You got to be honest and upfront. Not afraid to be yourself, hence why I take notes, even though not many people have notes in the interviews with you. And additionally, be prepared.
Right? Very good, very good, very prepared. It's an interesting concept in real estate. You have over 310 agents. You deal with thousands of agents probably.
Yes.
And we coach thousands of agents, and we've done seminars for a large number of agents. But I think they have a misconception of what being prepared means. I remember in this same room interviewing Philip Spiegelman, one of the owners of ISG, and he said, one thing is to have the real estate license, and a completely different thing is being able to make money with your real estate license.
Absolutely.
many agents think that being prepared, it's getting the license or going to a few courses or seminars. I say, some agents say they have 10 years of experience. What I say is you have 1 year of experience and you've done the same thing 10 times.
Correct.
Right? So being prepared, it's how many properties are for sale in your little building? Right? What's the average price? What's the highest price for sale? What's the lowest price? What's the price per square foot?
Average days on the market.
Right.
What's the absorption rate? Everything.
Right. That's being prepared. Very, very good. Yep. So what are some of the common problems you see real estate agents facing today? You have 310 right here in this office.
So I think, well, that and we come across a lot, right? So I think the number one common problem that experienced agents come across, that we see the common problems, is themselves. Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's clarify that. There's two answers to that. Okay. One is egos. Right. I think egos have a lot to do with it, and also I think a lot of it is complacency. You know, they made a $60,000 commission. They made a $100,000 commission.
If you sell one of these beautiful projects, you know?
It's a big check. It's a big check. Trust me. I see the checks when I'm giving them to my agents. I'm like, oh my God.
I got one from 171 from you guys.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. Right. So what happens is, but the egos get in the way.
Right.
And what happens is they think they may be better, whatever it is. And then ultimately we're all on the same team. Right. And I think a lot of agents think that we're adversaries versus being on the same team. Another thing is unrealistic customers. I think that the market has changed, but customers still want to believe it was 2013, 2014. Right. So that unrealistic customers.
That's a very good point, because I've seen that a lot with my real estate agents. Yes, a lot. That unrealistic client that wants the good deal, right? The 2-2 waterfront
or the
property.
highest price possible,
right.
Whatever it may be. The other one, I think the biggest one actually, is not transitioning with the market.
Great point. Great point.
Because the market is still doing very, very well. And I know we're going to discuss the market in a few minutes. But agents, they what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Not transitioning with the market. There's always money to be made, but if you stay in one particular segment and that, all of a sudden it's like that who moved my cheese, right?
Real estate is cyclical, and you have to play with the cycles, definitely.
Absolutely.
Right. Very, very, very good. Now, can you share a failure that you had in this 18 years of real estate experience that, and not only share that failure with our audience, but more important, what did you learn from that failure?
Sure. The greatest failure by far.
Okay.
And you asked me this before, it's like, boom, I know the answer to that.
You knew it, even the date.
To the T, February 2007.
Okay.
And it was the year that so I have 4 boys. I have my 18-year-old, I have my 8-year-old,
hands full,
and I have 5-year-old. That's why I work so hard.
You get away up from the insanity sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's another reason why I'm obsessed with what I do. I love what I do, number one, but I'm obsessed with it because there's a lot of people that depend on me. I have my family, but in addition to that, I have staff. I have a lot of employees. I have a lot of agents. But February 2007 was when my 8-year-old was born. In the same month, I lost about $80,000 in commissions. I had about 5 pending deals, thinking, there's always a chance 1 or 2, but out of all 5 went out the door for different reasons. They all went out.
Sounds familiar to anybody watching this interview? Yeah. It happens. Yeah.
Oh, it happens a lot.
A lot.
So what do you learn from it? You learn 2 things, really. One, never count your chickens till they hatch. I became, ever since that month, I became very suspicious. Agents are very notorious, with their paperwork. And I never understood it until that month. I would turn in my paperwork. The day when pending, I would turn it in or whatever it was. And then ever since that day, I would wait till like 3 days before closing, and then I would turn it in. I got really superstitious with that. The other thing I learned was never take your foot off the gas pedal. And if you look at agents, you probably deal a lot with this when you train people. It's very cyclical as a market, but agents are very cyclical, right? They'll make a lot of money 1 month, and then they'll go 3 or 4 months without making any money. Disappear. And then all of a sudden they get it because they focus so much on closing those 2, 3, 4 deals that they have that they don't work on developing additional business while they have those under contract. So that was a big lesson for me too.
Very good. Very good. Now, what about, let's turn the table and go 180 degree angle. It's a success story that taught you something. In particular in real estate.
The biggest success story that I think in my career, is the success story that I'm living
right now with ISG. Right?
Correct. So I took over a little less than 18 months ago. Right. It'll be December 18th will be exactly 16 months. And at the time we only had 55 agents. And we're fortunate. Every real estate brokerage has different ownership, right? I happen to be very fortunate that my brokerage is co-owned by the Related Group, who's probably the largest developer in the country, definitely South Florida, and ISG.
In the state by far.
Oh, in the state by far, and New York as well. But probably in the country for high-rise development, and ISG, who's probably the premier pre-construction specialty company. So here I am being hired to run their general real estate company, and to be able to grow it from 55 agents to, or 56, whatever it was, to 308 as of this morning, it's a big deal within 18 months.
Course.
And we've only done it with experienced agents.
Achievement. Yeah.
We don't really, if you just got your license, we tell you to go somewhere else because that's not our mold. And what I equate it to is, so we were talking about the why. Okay, so I always find out what the agent's whys are, et cetera. I have my personal why and I have my company why. My personal why is, a lot of people say, Alex, you can make more money selling. They're probably right. Okay, but I love what I do. This is what I do.
It's not always about money. Productivity is not always about money.
We're going to talk about happiness in a minute, right? But my why is, I want to be a part of something bigger than just me, and that translates to our company why. And I feel that for Related ISG International Realty, I feel that agents want to be a part of something bigger than just themselves. So we were talking earlier about LeBron James, right? And you look at LeBron James, when he played in Cleveland those first 7 years, he went to the championship one time, and in that one time, they got swept right away. And it took him 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it was. I'm not a sports guy, right? Then he comes to the Miami Heat. He surrounds himself with other great players like himself, okay? Not only did he elevate his game, he elevated everybody around him as well. They go 4 years in a row to the championships, right? And they end up winning 2. In 4 years, right? And it's the same principles here. The agents that we've been able to hire are agents that want to be a part of something bigger than just themselves. It makes them better, but it also makes everybody around them better as well. Right. And that success story,
there are two sayings that relate to that. One, it's that, I don't know who said it, but it's, you can't expect to fly with the eagles if you're hanging around with the turkeys, right?
Yeah. It's my son. My son right now, my 8-year-old who's playing soccer. He's a phenomenal soccer player, but he's the best kid on his team. And we're like saying, you know what, Aiden, maybe we should look to a different team, a better league, something that'll, and he likes being the big fish in a smaller pond. I get it, because he gets a lot of praise, a lot of attention. But the reality is, if he wants to take his game to another level, he's going to have to surround himself with people that are better than him.
Exactly.
And not be the best one.
Jim Rome had a quote. He died, unfortunately, but after many, many years, the guy was a genius, and he said something along these lines. It's the difference between the person you are today and the person you will be 3, 6 months, a year from now lies in the books you read and the people you surround yourself with. So definitely, and that's why the part of the reason so many experienced agents have joined Related ISG International. Very, very, very good. So what habits do you have in a daily basis that allows you to perform at a very, very high level, not only to take care of your family, but take care of such a large company and be 100% involved and focused and clear and in your daily business activities?
And I don't want to skip that question about the best advice we've ever received. I like that one. Let's go to that one first. I like that one.
Let's do that. Okay.
To me, so the best advice I received from my mentors and even from a commercial, is one, the answer is always no unless you ask. And it could be whether you're trying to sell a customer, whether you're dating and you see a pretty, whatever it is, the answer is always no unless you ask. But so many people are afraid to ask. It's crazy. I don't get it, The other one, this was actually from an AIG commercial when I was like, AIG insurance, I was like 20, 21. Was, the biggest risk you can take is never taking one. But again, a lot of people are afraid to just take that step, over the ledge. Number 3, never assume and always qualify. So we were talking about the 5 qualifying questions. So someone says, I want a good investment. Well, my definition of a good investment could be different from yours. Or someone says, I want to sell my home fast. Okay, well, what's your definition of fast? Or whatever it is, never assume that what you think the answer may be is going to be the same answer to the person that you're dealing with. And it doesn't matter.
Clarify that.
Every single time, regardless of who you're talking to, buyer, seller, agent, doesn't matter. And the fourth one, which has been by far one of the more important ones, is quantifying the problem or quantifying the issue, whatever it may be. A lot of us tend to knee-jerk reaction. We hear something, we knee-jerk and we get mad or whatever it is. You know what? Take a step back, look at it, let's quantify it. Let's see if the issue is actually an issue to be dealt with, and then take the next steps versus just reacting right away.
Exactly. Very, very, very good points. And that taking the risk, and if you get used the point of taking risk every day, that's part of the things that I suggest people to do is take a little bit more risk every single day. Do something that you are not accustomed to do. One thing every day, and you will increase that threshold every day, and it will give you more confidence, more security on yourself, and you'll accomplish amazing things. I mean, if you do that once a day, you'll do great, 5 great things that you couldn't do before, in a week. So it's a great advice. Now let's go back to your daily habits.
So daily habits, by far, I think one of the things that helps out the most for me personally is I exercise every day. Whether my particular form of exercise is CrossFit, maybe I'll run one day a week here or there, but it's CrossFit. It's just my therapy, because what it allows me to do is that if I don't concentrate, I can get hurt. So what ends up happening is, it forces me to turn my brain off.
I've never done CrossFit, but very important.
Sure.
I practice tennis. I play tennis almost every day of my life, and something that I share is that it's like taking my brain out of my head.
That's right.
Taking it to a resort, they clean it, they polish it, and they give it back to me 2 hours later, because I have to focus 100% on the strategy, on the court, on the ball, on the opponent. And I didn't know. Because going to the gym, to me, it's like you can be on the iPod,
not in CrossFit.
I didn't know that.
No, because you're doing workouts for time and with heavy weights sometimes. And it's interesting, what I learned from CrossFit is for business, it actually taught me two things. One, it taught me to look at things a different way and to what I call quote unquote chip away. So workout in CrossFit, there's a workout called chipper wads. And a chipper wad is workout of the day, and it could be a laundry list of things that we need to perform within a certain amount of time, or for time as quickly as possible.
And it works for business too, right?
It does. So when you look at this huge list of things, you're saying to yourself, "Oh my God, I'm never going to get through this. I'm gonna die before I can even finish it." But rather than looking at it, you begin to just chip away at it. You take one thing at a time, and you can apply that to business. The other thing is checking your ego at the door. So when I've been doing CrossFit now 4 years, and probably within my second week, my buddy had been doing it for a while, and he's like, "Come on, let's go. We're going to do deadlifts." And, whether people know what that is or not. And he's like, "Come on, we're going to do my weight." And I was like, "Okay," thinking I could do it. I ended up hurting my back. So you learn very quickly that you check your ego at the door. You listen. You stay within your capacity. And you said on a risk, but the same thing principle here is every day you get a little bit better. And so it's a good stress relief, but at the same time, it's principles that you can apply to life today.
There is one book that I'll recommend to the audience. It's called Spark, and not only it's neuroscience, right? A medical doctor that explains the importance of doing cardio exercises, whether it's tennis, running, CrossFit, and the transformation in your brain and the type of drugs you release in your brain, dopamine. So it's very, very important to at least do 20 minutes every single day. I'm sure that when you don't do CrossFit and you come to the office, you don't feel the same.
It's not the same day.
Exactly.
It's weird.
So
today's a rest day for me, and I feel like now I'm very sore. So when I get up, I'm not going to be able to stand up straight from this interview after we're done. So
So now, almost to finish the interview, it's how do you see the real estate market? You've been around the real estate market in South Florida for maybe 18 years. How do you see the real estate market, especially in the next 12 to 18 months?
Okay. So, well, let's clarify the market, right? So we're going to apply the principles of clarification. To me, you can't just answer that question. I think, again, that's another
very good.
knee-jerk reaction, right? Agents get asked, how do you see the market? Well, what are you interested in, right?
What type of market?
What type of market? Because to me, in general, there's five different markets, right? You have pre-construction, you have single-family homes, you have rentals, you have commercial real estate, and you have condos.
And within those, you have sub
further segmentation, right? But those at least from a top level, macro level, there's five different. So it depends. If you were to ask me right now, I would tell you commercial real estate, because of what's interesting is this: the change in the American dollar, the strength of the American dollar against the foreign currencies has not curtailed investment. It's just curtailed the type of investment. We actually launched a commercial division about 7 months ago, because what was happening is I'll have a customer that's got a Brazilian client. The Brazilian client still wants to invest in South Florida. He just doesn't, or she doesn't necessarily want to invest in pre-construction at the moment because they don't know what their currency is going to be worth in 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, when they have to make all these payments. So they're looking now towards commercial real estate. So we had to launch transitioning with the market, right? So, but I think commercial real estate is on fire right now. Single family homes continue to be on fire. Rentals are on fire. Pre-construction's doing well. Is it doing as well as it was? No. And the future of that will depend on how strong the American dollar is. And condos, for the most part, are overall slower than they've been. But again, you can have one building that's doing very well and have another building where 70% of the units are on the market. Over the next 12 to 18 months, man, I wish I knew. If I knew, I would know. I don't think anybody can answer that question. I mean, people will attempt to answer that question, but the reality is you just don't know. You just got to roll with the punches and transition with the market as it goes.
Now, in order to finish that amazing conversation, a piece of advice that you have for a new agent, somebody just got the license, not even a a month ago, less than a year ago.
Sure, sure. Right. Really, there's three things.
Okay.
If I were a brand new agent, I would be willing to do something that nobody else is willing to do.
Oh, I like that one.
So got into
very
business.
good, very good.
Going back, I'm 19 years old. I get in the business. I didn't start selling until I was 25. Okay. Now I was broke. Because I was stupid and I spent all the money I made.
Okay.
I was broke, but there's one thing I had, and that was my age. So I picked a community and I door knocked that community.
Okay.
And I think when I started, it was like July or August.
Okay.
Now, who's going to go door knocking in July or August in the afternoon? It had just finished raining. Yeah, me. That's all I had, right? And it had just I remember one day I was door knocking. It had just finished raining and steam was coming off the floor.
Oh,
but you know what?
That's South Florida.
It is South Florida, but it allowed me to be able to get in front of customers face to face, better than over the phone. You know, but and everybody, you would tell people, "Oh, I'm going door knock." You're going what? Door knock? Don't people slam the door? Whatever it is, do something that nobody else is willing to do, whatever that may be. The other one is ready, not ready, aim, fire, but ready, fire, aim. Too many agents get ready to get ready, and they're always, you know, they just never go out and do it.
Going to the next seminar, reading the next book.
Oh my God, it's amazing. You know what? Just go out there, start palm to palm, face to face, belly to belly, and something will trigger. And along the way, you refine that process.
Exactly.
But start firing now, aim later. Because you're going to have, you know, again, the answer is always no unless you ask. It's that principle. And the third thing is, again, it's about being prepared and being informed. Educate yourself. You do need to take the time to educate yourself, because I always equate it to the Golden Glades interchange. Golden Glades interchange, you go down I-95 south and you get there and you can go 836 west, 836 east, I-95, 441. I mean, there's all these different directions. If you're prepared, you can go in those different directions, but continue to be in the driver's seat.
Right.
The moment you're unprepared or whatever it may be, or lack of preparation, you're allowing your customer to take control. And once that happens,
it's over.
It's over. You don't know what's going to happen at that point.
What about a piece of advice for an experienced agent?
Sure.
That's what you have here.
That's what yeah, absolutely. So when I sit down with an experienced agent, there's really three things that I tell them. That seems to be my magic number for three or four things, right? My wife tells me I'm an outline speaker. I say, and usually it's not A, B, C. It's usually A to C. You know, there's never a rhyme or reason. But one, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that applies to whether you're an agent, whether you're an office manager, whether you're project sales, whether you're the president of the company, you know, running 6 offices, whatever it is. If you're not growing, you're dying. Exactly. And I've heard that since day one. The second thing is you always want to focus on actions that are proactive, not reactive. An ad in the paper is reactive. You're waiting for someone to call you. Door knocking is proactive. You're going out, knocking on doors, looking for the business. So focus on being proactive, not reactive. And the third thing is partnering with a company. Okay, so we've recruited a lot of agents, right? Apparently, we've grown a lot. So, and I always tell experienced agents that agents make the move for one of two reasons, okay? They either A, make the move because there's a way in which they already do their business. They want to continue doing more of it, so they're going to partner up with a company that does business in a way in which they do it to help them do more of it. Hence, pre-construction, luxury real estate, whatever the case may be. Or there's a certain way in which they want to do their business, and they're going to partner up with a company that does business in a way in which they want to. All right. So my third thing is as an experienced agent, find a company that does business in a way in which you want to do it, so you can do more of it. Or if there's a certain segment of the market that you want to get into, find the company that does it. And I'm not necessarily saying mine. I'm saying any company. There's a lot out there, right?
Whatever appeals to you, whatever.
I'm definitely not the company for everybody, nor do I want to be the company for everybody, right?
Very good.
You want to partner up with a company that does it in a way that you want to, because by being in that environment, you're by osmosis, almost you absorb that information.
Alex, it's been a true pleasure.
Yeah, man, this is fun.
Thank you for having me here again at your Related ISG International Realty offices here in Aventura. Florida, it's Miami anyways to all of us. Alex, it's been a true pleasure.
Yes,
Until next week, make it a very, very productive day. Take care, guys.